Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Today is going to be a bit of a weird one. It's almost like a bit of a sleuth mission. But before we get into it, make sure you hit that big red button down below. But today is going to be not a scouting report on Leonard and Jeng, but more of a kind of what's going on here. So this guy is a 16-year-old Nigerian left back, and he is somebody who is tipped to be really good. He's tipped to go on to great things. And Leeds legally can't sign him yet because he is 16, and by FIFA rules, they have to wait until he's 18 years old. But he has been on trial at Leeds before. A couple of months ago, there's actually a video on his YouTube channel. So I Googled Leonard and Jeng, or Njenge. Somebody let me know if I'm saying that right or not. I searched him on YouTube and I found a profile, and it had a picture of a young lad taking a selfie in the mirror, and he's got a black Leeds jacket on. So then when I actually opened his channel, he had one video, and it was the VO footage. Now, if you don't know VO, we used to have an amateur football club that I played for. It's kind of like a little box camera on a really long stick. And it's got technology in it that means the actual lens can follow wherever the ball goes and things like that. But they can use it to record training sessions and analysing things like that. So that's where this footage comes from. Basically, a camera on a really long stick, or mounted to a building or something. And it's basically a load of youth players doing a rondo. I'm not sure who some of the other youth players are. One of them's got a very similar haircut to Archie Gray and Harry Gray, kind of black curly hair on top of the head. So it might be Harry Gray because these are the youngsters. But yeah, Leonard and Genji is involved in that, I believe, and Leeds are hoping to bring him in after a couple of years. Now, if you want a lot more information and a lot more kind of a lot more of a presented idea of the whole scouting network as a whole, go and watch Lockie's video on this guy, because Lockie explains how basically Leeds are expanding their scouting network and how Red Bull is helping them to do that. And he goes on to say in this video, obviously he has a lot more detail, so make sure you definitely go and watch his video. He has a lot more detail, but the gist of things is that in Africa, there is a massive pool of players and a massive potential of players to bring in. And it's almost like a little bit of a closed market with some of the big clubs. He mentioned Ajax because they brought in somebody like Mohamed Kudus, Manchester City. Your big clubs, basically, they have kind of a monopoly on African youth talent at the moment. But Red Bull is actually one of those. And so it's been suggested that our Red Bull connections will help us to expand our scouting networks. So that's kind of where we'll leave that, but that's interesting for me, and that's something that certainly I hope to explore with my own scouting videos further in the future, because I can start to look further afield and go, okay, well, this actually might be a bit more of a realistic move now to bring in this player who ticks all the boxes but potentially plays in a Nigerian league or something like that, like this guy does. He plays for a club in Nigeria at the moment. And Leeds are hoping to bring him in. Look, there's 2 years until he's 18, so there's a potential here that somebody else comes in and nicks him. But he has had his trial at Leeds United. He's seen the facilities. He's been around. You can tell that this is Leeds United on this video as well. So if you literally just search his name on YouTube, you'll find this video. It's about a 12-minute video of him and his teammates just passing his kind of trial mates, just passing the ball around, doing little rondos. You can tell it's at Leeds because they're wearing that green and light green training top, the coaches all around, and they're trying to just coach them through things. So he's been down to Leeds. He's been down to Thorpe Arch. He's seen what it's all about. Hopefully he's the type of guy who will say that, you know what, these are the guys who wanted to offer me a chance. I'll go back to them. So, I mean, a lot of things can happen in 2 years, but we may see that he actually comes in eventually into Leeds. So it's just one to look out for in the future. Not massively any information out there on him really at all there's literally nothing. Like you can't even find, you can find compilations of every player on the planet when you're looking for videos and you're looking to do a little bit of analysis. Can't find anything on this guy. There's no videos of him or anything, but apparently tipped to be very, very good. And of course, Leeds United have access to people who can actually go out there and watch, and it's good that they're sending people now. I don't know whether that'll be an actual representative from the club, or maybe that is the Red Bull connection and they're using those Red Bull connections to send people like that out to Africa to have a look at these players. And obviously there's been like a bit of a reluctance from me as well to look in South America as well, because I know that there's so much talent in the Brazilian league, in the Argentinian league, in many of those leagues out there. There's so much talent out there to be looked at, and I think Leeds can start to take notice of that and start to hopefully bring in players from there, because it's one of those things where if you are just looking in Europe, everything is a little bit inflated in terms of price. You can go out to Argentina or Brazil and you could get somebody for a couple of million and you bring them in and they could be the next best thing. And the 49ers are certainly people who want to spend their money shrewdly. We've seen that with the window. We've seen that with how they wanted to spend their money. So I think it should expand things way out across the world, and hopefully we start to see more players come in from abroad. To me, that means that our network has expanded massively with Red Bull coming in. And obviously a lot of people go, well, why are they here? What are they actually providing? Because at the moment, it doesn't look like they're actually putting any money in, because I don't think they can at this moment in time. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they're actually allowed to put any money in as of yet, Red Bull. And they've got no majority stake. They've got no ability to change the shirt. Sorry, not the shirt. That's the thing they do have. They've got no ability to change anything about the club other than the shirt sponsor. So it's like, well, why are they being brought in? Well, I think it's because of this. I think it's because of their connections to the wider footballing world, providing Leeds with something that they haven't really had before, and that's a world-class scouting network. We've had a decent scouting network, and we've looked at players, and we've had a small team of scouts. Before, it was just Victor Orta and a couple of guys in a room, or maybe not a couple, but like 5 to 10 scouts in a room who would be looking at things online and then going out and watching players and things like that. Now you've got the kind of structure at the club of Nick Hammond above, and then there's Greta Steinson, and there is, of course, all the scouts then below that. But then if you bring in the knowledge and the experience of Red Bull as well, they can help those guys who are already at the club to improve, spread their knowledge across as many people as possible. And it means that Leeds don't necessarily have to buy massive players from abroad, buy massive players from England for loads of money. They can start to work on a bit of a Brighton model, which is what I think is kind of one of the best ways to do this. I think there needs to be a mixture, though, because Brighton have been, I'll not say riding their luck for a certain amount of time, but there's certainly been like okay, we're going to get someone in very cheap, sell somebody very expensive who we bought last season for very cheap, and suddenly make a lot of money. But the balance is with a team like Leeds, because we're a much bigger club than Brighton, is some of that, bring in some players from abroad who, yes, are cheap, but will turn out to be really good based on better scouting, and then bring in some top talent as well to support that. And that's, of course, when you go up to the Premier League. But I think that combination is a real winning combination, and I think there's a lot to be excited about for the future. Obviously, this video was kind of many of it about young Leonard from Nigeria, but it's turned into more of a conversation about Leeds and how we might structure our transfer business in the future going into the Premier League. And I think it needs to be a kind of mix of that Brighton model and buying really top talent as well for good money. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on this situation at the moment. It's just kind of a let's get my thoughts out there. Of course, like I mentioned as well, go and check out Lockie's video. He explains it in a lot more detail, the actual scouting network side of things. He's done this at university for his degree. Go and check that out. The guy knows what he's talking about. I'm just kind of getting my feelings and thoughts out there about this whole thing and how I would like transfer windows to be structured in the future. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thanks for watching Leeds Lately, and I'll see you in the next one.